I am rebuilding Iron Lung in Unreal Engine 5. We will cover 100 hours of development. I'm sorry my voice is not at the best today because I'm sick, but let's get into it. First, I opened the game and analyzed it deeply to understand every mechanics and every working aspect of the game. Then I started with the easiest thing, which is the main menu. For the blood, I used the standard plugin for water in Unreal Engine and turned the water red. After that, I got the Iron Lung logo from the Markiplier's movie and I added it to the screen. I know what you're thinking, I'm with you here, and it looks like crap. But no hope is lost. After a few hours of fiddling with post-processing and editing all the settings I could, this is the end result. Menu's done, so I'm ready to move into the Submarine. Well, I won't lie to you, I was completely lost at this point. All I had was a plane and a cube, no reference of the actual size of the submarine of the original game, and no clue on how to model an actual thing. At this point, with all hope lost, I started making the world around, so I added the skybox and I started gathering some assets I had from the library on my Epic account. So I started a weird blockout and testing process that didn't end so well, at least for the camera. I was glitching all the ways. At this point I didn't give up, but I got some assets to help me do the job, and I found this thing that looked like a spaceship portal that I stretched a bit to get the desired result. Then, to simulate we are under an ocean of blood, I added a little red water plane in front of it. And after playing around with the ambience a bit, I can say this works really well. After being done with all the camera setup and the player setup, I realized I will need the controls to control the submarine. And at this point I knew I forcibly have to build the things for the control panel myself. So I used the Unreal Engine modeling tool, and there it began an endless cycle and a spiral of pain. So after some research, I managed also to cut a arrow for the compass for the Iron Lung, and then this is the end result, and I was pretty happy with it anyway. So at this point I also made the closing for the portal and all the little things that we needed for the game to work, such as the depth meter and the oxygen meter. Oxygen meter. Meter. Yeah. After all that research and modeling, to relax a bit, I started working on the pointer for the camera, so we know where we are pointing and what we are interacting with in the world. I gave it a cheap animation, so we know when we are hovering over something interactable. At this point, my moment of relax was over and I moved into scripting the depth meter. It took me a while to make it work properly because my brain is totally fried and I forgot mathematics, so I had to get some help and also ask ChatGPT. And ChatGPT let me know that there is a totally incredible blueprint node that is the map range clamp, which saved this project. So after that I've made all the basics actor work at their bare minimum. So I got the depth meter, the oxygen meter and the proximity sensor kinda work. Except it doesn't work at all, it just blinked and later on I had to rewrite it completely. Being said that I could not interact with anything, I started working on the interaction system. For it to work, I used a line trace from the center of the camera, which checks if the actor I'm looking at has an interact interface. With the interface done, I was able to set up the input for the click and make a basic movement system. And here I thought I was set and done, and I was ready to move towards the finishing line to complete this remake. But little I know, there was still a lot of conversion to do to make the coordinates match perfectly the one in the original Iron Lung game. But before getting into that, let's see how I made the landscape and the minimap for the game. For the terrain, I literally just made an 8 map of the original map and imported it into Unreal. This is the end result and it looks really bad, I know, but with some adjustment it matched the sides almost perfectly. So I made a widget blueprint and I added the map into the game by pressing tab. Now it was time to add the coordinate points for the point of interest. For this I made another widget blueprint with an overlay, so when you hover it shows the coordinates. Now back to the coordinates conversion issue. Here I had negative coordinates and they were kinda unlimited because I was using a Unreal Engine world location and I was moving in the Unreal Engine space. The issue was pretty clear with me. I had to constrain to a plane the X and Y and work on the scale of the landscape, which was 950 by 950, but somehow it was still not working properly. So I also tried to get help and the solution was kinda correct. At some point I just added two anchors, one on the bottom left and one on the top right of the plane, and still it was misaligned, but in the end it worked by restarting the engine, so I don't really know what happened here. Well, at this point the issue was resolved, but the landscape wasn't matching correctly the game, so I had to offset the landscape a bit, and it was solved. Finally, we could move around the coordinates. For the next challenge, I had to make the proximity sensor work correctly. To do so, I had to rewrite all the logic I already made for the proximity sensor and make it blink once when it receives a distance input from a line trace I'm shooting from the submarine from each direction, up, right, left and down. So the closer we are, the faster the LED light will blink and fire the sound for the blink. I was so happy this was working properly. But Chibex! Aren't you missing something? Yes, you're right, the most important part of the Iron Lung game, the gun scanner or the screenshot machine, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, for this I actually used an asset I had. It was intended for CRT TV emulation, but I edited it a bit, then I made a scene capture component and connected the material to it, so it records live what is happening outside of the submarine. Now all I had to do was removing the date and time from the bottom left, make it black and white. I added a parameter to disable the texture, I added a button actor with a little animation, and this was the end result, and I was pretty happy with it. As you noticed during the process, the surroundings have evolved, and I tried to be more faithful with the movie trailers instead of the game, but for the back I had to take more from the game, because in the trailers you don't see the back of the submarine for some reason. But one thing you see is the button, which is vertical instead of horizontal, so I took that design and embraced it. One final thing I did was making the computer in which you can see the lore and the insert sheets. For this I also used the same asset pack I used for the scanner and made the monitor interactable and opened a widget blueprint with an image. To make the texture I unpacked the original Iron Lung game and borrowed the texture and the sound files. So using AI, yes, AI, and I have scaled the texture and made it different so it looks more modern. I made the font for the message, I added a text box for inputting the commands, and I added an array with the actual working commands. And then I made some logic to make it work. Actually only the chview commands and exit works at the moment. I also added the original note you find on the ground in the submarine, and with this as well I undergo the same process. I took the original image and upscaled it with AI. With this I'm pretty much done, except I forgot to do the fire extinguisher, and I will need to do the entire logic to trigger the events during the game, and of course finish the landscape by adding the skeletons and all the monsters around the map, and the final scene with the actual monster. I don't know if you play the game, I hope so. So what I learned from this: even the smallest idea requires a lot of passion and work, 100 hours of work, and the smallest idea can be successful. So I'm going to finish this game, and let's see, maybe Markiplier will play it one day, I don't know. So if you wanna see where this goes, and maybe you wanna try this game, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video.
This is not an expedition.